Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is for Faith and Motherhood. I am Messi and I'm going to be your host today. Thank you to everyone that's been in this space, liking, commenting, sharing, and yes, subscribing. I'm going to be sharing this space with four other wonderful moms who are going to be sharing their personal experiences, having gone through CS, some went through it twice, and some this is their first time, and they just have gems that we need to take in and just learn from. And also, I believe that it will also help shift our mindset and change our perspective to what cesarean section is about. So you're going to listen to four moms sharing their stories, their experiences. As I said earlier, please be open-minded. This is about the people that are concerned. This is about you picking the gems, the learnings, and working with it. That our mindset changes. I am still learning. You are here. We are learning together. Let's change the mindset. Let's change the status quo out there. Let's be of help to each other. And let's not suffer in silence any longer. I believe that someone might need to do CS tomorrow, and because you listen to it to change your mindset, or maybe to help you love upon another family member that has gone through it or wants to go through it, instead of stigmatizing them going forward. So yes, over to you, woman.
Hello there. I'm Janet, a proud mom of one, and I would like to share my childbirth journey. I had my baby through CS, which most people frown at, so to say. So, what led to me doing CS was because as at 40 weeks, I was supposed to like fall into labor, but it wasn't coming. It wasn't forthcoming. And at the point, as at that 40 weeks, they felt they should induce me, but then I had to do a last scan to confirm if the baby was fine and all. That was the last scan, by the way. And after doing the scan, on getting the results, they realized that the amniotic fluid was not enough for the baby. It wasn't sufficient. That reduced drastically. So I was booked for an emergency CS, and that was it. It was a success. I was fine. My baby was fine. But I got to know there was problem after few persons that, well, I could call friends or people I just knew randomly. They just started asking, oh, was it vaginal birth or it was CS? And at that point, I was like, what's the difference? I had my baby was fine, I was fine. So why laying emphasis on whether it was vaginal birth or it was CS? Well, anyway, few persons got to know that it was CS, and that was where the trouble started. After CS, being a CS mom, I was cut open to birth a new life. I was still feeling the pain from the stitch, and I couldn't even walk that straight. And I wasn't healed. Like, I wasn't healed totally from the stitch yet. It was just few days. And the next thing, I remember a particular person calling me to tell me that, she told her mom about my childbirth and about my CS. And they all started saying, okay, they never expected I could do CS. Was I weak or was I scared? Or they started saying all sorts of things. And at that point, I was like, the only thing I wanted to hear at that point was congratulations. Aside from that, some other few persons as well that got to know about the CS too. Well, they were saying some things that wasn't so pleasant for doing CS. So then I knew, wow, there was people are actually missing a lot of things. Like, they didn't even know what led to the CS. They didn't know the backstory, but all they could do was just start judging for doing CS. And I felt like, oh, what are these people saying? And well, then I wouldn't say it didn't get to me at all at the point. I was very strong, quite alright. I was happy seeing my baby, but those words started setting in, few weeks into postpartum. I started thinking of those things unconsciously, by the way, I started thinking about them, and it kind of weighed me down a bit. And, I started seeing myself like, oh, I'm a weak mom, just like they said. And I started seeing myself as, just seeing myself less of a mom, like not so good mom for doing CS. That was I not strong enough and all those things. But then I I'm just grateful that I was able to, with help from my spouse, by the way, and my mom and some sisters, I was able to snap out of it. But what I just want everybody to know is that doing CS doesn't make one less of a mom, doesn't make you a weakling, doesn't make you a bad mom. Instead, it shows how strong one can be. If there's anyone out there that's been booked for CS, please don't see it as a bad thing. All they are just concerned about is the mother being alive and the baby being alive. Do not let anyone tell you otherwise. It's just for the safety of the mother and the child. And for everyone, for mothers, for our big mothers, and for every other person, please, whenever we have any CS person around, all they need is help, all they need is support, all they need is encouragement. The scar will always be there as a CS mom. The scar will always be there. The body changes and everything will always be there. That is even enough to kill a woman's self-esteem if she keeps looking at the negative aspect. But then what's from other people as well should be the one that would encourage a woman more. Please help the CS moms. Help the CS mom. All they need is care, support, encouragement, and of course, prayers for healing, for complete healing. Thank you for listening, and I hope that would all start seeing CS moms differently. And for everyone that has been booked for CS as well, I hope you'll be able to embrace the joy that comes with seeing your baby alive and you being alive. Thank you all.
Hi, my name is Abbi, and I'd like to share a few things about cesarean section. Firstly, I'll say that having a child is very courageous regardless of the birthing process, be it vaginal or cesarean section. And for someone out there who is about to undergo cesarean section or has undergone cesarean section, I'll say that allow yourself to heal. Give yourself time, embrace self-compassion. Also prioritize physical and emotional well-being. Remember that taking care of your mental and emotional health is just as important as the physical recovery. And I'll say that cherish the moments with your newborn and celebrate the strength it took you to navigate this unique birthing journey. And I'll also say that please, having cesarean section does not make you less of a woman. It's actually a courageous path. Oh, my C-section experience. Okay, so I'll talk about the physical and the emotional aspect. For people around me, well, I mean, we were expecting I was C-section, so it didn't come as a shock. But for people that didn't have the experience, I'm talking about women now that didn't have the experience, their reaction wasn't supportive. They sounded like, are you the first person to be in pain? And you need to be strong, more of scolding. And when you are not wearing a shoe, you don't know how it feels. And that hurts me. It did hurt me. And what I learned from that experience was that I learned to be kinder to people that have gone through CS. It taught me that I should be kinder. I should have more compassion. I should have empathy on people that have gone through CS. Aside the pain, the physical pain, I couldn't move, I couldn't turn. I was on painkillers though, but the painkiller just lasts for like 2 to 3 hours and I had to endure the pain. I was managing the pain properly, but my emotional state was messed up, really. So what I do most times is I cry. I just find myself crying. And I had to call one of my aunties in the US. And when I call her, she's like, don't worry, just cry, cry. And I cried. I called her like 8 to 9 times. And each time I call, the only thing I do is cry. And I realized that the crying helped me to heal. Like she just listens to me cry. So I don't. I think when we got to the ninth time, also I counted it. It was up to 9. Yes. When I got to the ninth time, there were no more tears again, and she was like, "Congratulations, you are fine. You are better now." She was very supportive. In fact, she was part of my healing journey. So I can't forget her. And what I also learned from that is allow yourself to heal. So allow yourself to heal. I had a friend who also did CS, but 2 weeks, 3 weeks after CS, she was jumping, moving around the place, and I was comparing myself to her, and I forgot that bodies differ. So I also learned that we should not, self-compare. We shouldn't compare ourselves with other people because the experiences are different. So those were the things I learned. I learned to be more compassionate. I learned empathy, towards people that have had tears. And I've learned also that we should allow ourselves to heal. A word of advice for someone out there about cesarean section. I'll say that it's crucial to recognize that childbirth experience vary, and C-section is a very valid and sometimes a necessary option. So let's encourage empathy. Let us dispel the myths and avoid judgments. Let's have open conversations about birth choices. Let us foster a community that values diverse paths to motherhood. On a final note, I'll say that C-section does not diminish the significance of a mother's journey at all. So let us normalize talking about it. When we talk about it, we reduce the stigma around it. And also, it encourages informed decision making and creates a more inclusive and compassionate approach to childbirth.
How was CS like for me? So, before I got married, I've always said it that I was going to do CS. There's this thing about you having what you say, because I've heard a lot of stories about, the vaginal birth, that it's not so easy. You have to go through contractions, especially the contraction. And then you will now have to push and push and push. And sometimes some people have vaginal tear and all of that. So for me, it was there's always been a gory story for me. So I've always said I was going to have CS, have my babies through CS even before I got married. And so I wasn't really shaken or surprised when the doctor said it was going to be through the C-section. So when I was 38 weeks, I went for my regular checkup, and the doctor told me that the baby hadn't taken the head down position, and that at this stage he would just advise that I do CS. And I was expecting him to say, okay, so when it's 40 weeks, if you're not in labor, come to the hospital and whatnot. But to my greatest surprise, he scheduled me for CS the following week. I was shocked because it wasn't pre-planned. I wasn't expecting that. I just wanted to go do my checkup and then come back home. And then that was what I got. So I had to pray. I didn't want to be scared. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't tell my parents. And luckily for me, my mom came around that weekend. My husband had to travel out of Lagos at the time, so it was just my mom and I that weekend. And I was to go to the hospital the following Monday. She came in on Thursday, yeah. And I did not tell her anything till Sunday night. And when I eventually told her, she was shocked. You know how mothers can be. You, this girl, you can kill someone. How can you withhold this kind of thing from me? I've been here since Thursday. You did not mention and all of that. And I was like, Mom, I didn't want to tell you because I didn't want you to start panicking. And I don't want to start, getting scared. I'm not scared right now, so please don't make me scared. And so she had to just, toughen up for me. So Monday I went to the hospital, all of um those things they do now, give you some injections, check you. I was still not scared. And when it was time for me to go to the lab, that was when the fear started. And I started speaking in tongues, praying about it, that God, I don't want any complication. You have to go with me to the lab. I can't go alone. You have to hold my hands through this journey and all of that. And lo and behold, everything went. I don't want to bore you with all the details, but everything was a success. At least I'm here now. My baby is 7 months already. Then the second question, what word of advice will you give someone who is scheduled to have a C-section? Well, I would say pray. Pray about it. And don't allow fear. Don't allow fear. Pray about it and trust God to be there for you. Trust God who has brought you, taking you through that 9-10 months journey of pregnancy. Trust Him not to leave you. Trust Him to be there and believe that it's going to be a success. CS is not it's not a death sentence. So don't be afraid. Don't care about what anybody says. And if you would ask me, I would tell you not to tell anyone. So that's it for me. Don't be scared. Okay, so down to the final question. Recovery part, how was it like? Okay, so recovery for me was seamless. No complication. Although a few days after my C-section, I was having mixed feelings. And my mixed feelings came as a result of what I was seeing. I was seeing that my fellow C-section moms, the people we had C-section on the same day, they were recovering faster. They could move around. They could stand upright. They could turn on either side, sleep on either side. And when I engaged them sometimes, to know if they were feeling pains or not, they would tell me, no, they are fine. They're no longer feeling the pain. They are good to go. In short, some of them got discharged few days before I left the hospital. 2 days, 3 days, 4 days before I left the hospital. And I was wondering what was going on, And at some point, even my mom was getting worried, like, what's going on? This person had a C-section a day after you had yours. And she's already going home today. What's going on? That got me a bit worried, like, hope there's no complication. Hope there's no issue. Why am I still feeling pain? Unknown to me, the analgesic they were giving was stronger than mine. I was given paracetamol because of my history with pyloric ulcer. So the doctors didn't want to complicate things further. But eventually, I had to go and buy that particular analgesic they were using. And I felt way better. And then, family members come visit. You start hearing talks like, oh, your tummy is still big. Of course, I just take it with a smile. At the time I wasn't really making so much of a big deal from it, because in my head I'm like, I just had a baby just 2-3 weeks ago and you're complaining about my tummy. Would you leave my tummy and let's talk about something else? So what they were saying wasn't really resonating within me. I wasn't even feeling like doing anything extra, because I felt like it's still okay if my tummy is still big. For crying out loud, I had C-section. It wasn't normal vaginal birth. So that was just it for me. And I also remembered that for the first 1 month, that was an experience that that was one experience that every C-section mom should just be prepared for, because you never can tell. You might be given that warning. So I was told not to allow water touch my incision parts, the area surrounding my incision. I shouldn't allow water touch it.
And that was one thing that got me really scared because the way they explained it, that it could get infected and it's a very serious case. And we actually instructed not to even have our bath for a whole month. It wasn't funny. It wasn't. I didn't bathe for a whole month. I was only just using damp clothes to just massage my body so that I don't smell and all. So that was just it. That was just the only part that kind of felt weird for me.
Hello, my name is Ayomide Asanevi, and I'm a two-time CS mom. I'm so proud of it. I'm so proud of myself. My first C-section was November 2020 when I had my first child. I was not meant to have the child through a C-section, but Nigerian happened to me, and I had to have her through an emergency C-section. And the recovery was slow. It was painful. I mean, I had to take blood at all. It was excruciatingly painful. And I remember telling myself, I do not want to experience this again because of the pain, because of the trauma that came with it. I had supportive people around me. My husband was quite supportive. He helped me with church and all. Even my mom was quite supportive. But at the same time, I still had some slight comments of, you were lazy, that's why. Someone even has to say it to me, Yoruba Onshole, which means, you were being lazy, that was why I gave birth to C-section. But I knew what I went through. I knew you had to be within me surviving, my baby surviving. Or me just trying to form, I want to give birth through vagina. I also had some of my friends who I believe intelligent and smart, that still came out to say things like, oh, God has orchestrated women to give birth through the vagina, which is called natural birth. And if you give birth through a C-section, means it's an artificial birth. That may sound so funny, but I could remember someone saying that to me, and I'm like, oh, it must be the assistant to the spirit. You already segregated that God's plan for every woman is to birth through vagina. If that was God's plan for every woman, He wouldn't have given the doctors the intelligence to be able to come out with giving birth through C-section. Anyways, I found out I was pregnant again, barely like a year and 2 months after I had my first child. And I think my major scare was the fact that I knew I may have to give birth through C-section. And I was so worried. Thankfully, I found myself in United Kingdom, Scotland. And one key prayer I kept telling God was that I want to have a painless delivery. I knew I was going to have birth through C-section, but I wanted to have a painless delivery. And yes, I had it. I had a painless C-section delivery. It was smooth. God took absolute control. I didn't have any infection. It was so smooth. Barely a few hours after I had my baby, I was eating. My eggs were up. Barely less than 12 hours, I took my first steps. I was able to walk, and I was ill and hearty. The next day, I was discharged, and I was home. And I'm grateful to God for that. Irrespective of whichever channel you are using to give birth, I think the motive or the main purpose should be mother being alive and the child also being alive. Carry your scar as your crown. Let it be lined with lines of gold, because it has beauty to you. Do not let anyone talk down on you or make you feel any less of being a woman because she had to give birth through a C-section. Remember, you had to survive. You had to be alive for you to be able to take care of your child. My advice to anyone planning to give a C-section is for you to hold on to God. Just connect with the Holy Spirit. Remember, He is the one that gave you the child, and He would also pull you through the C-section period and the recovery stage. I think what scares most moms for C-section is the post-C-section. That's the recovery stage. How you have to be careful not to have infections or not to have relapse and all those things. Yeah, so trust in God, and I believe it would help and pull you through. That's my story. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening. There are so many things to unpack from the mom, and I really celebrate them. I thank you, mamas, for sharing your experiences. You were part of this. I didn't do it on my own. I'm thankful. You are the reason why I'm here today, and I'm grateful for the gift of you all for sharing this. So thank you to everyone that stayed through, listening, and just speaking of these lessons. Please share it. People out there needs to get this message. You'll be amazed at the things that are still going on. I was still sharing it recently that I went to a particular celebrity's page, and because the person did a Caesarean session, you need to see the things that they were vomiting. I would say vomit because it's irritating to this person. Please, let's change. So yes, please share it. People need to hear this, and people need to know that things need to change. We are here for each other. Let's stop criticizing each other, especially for the things God has given unto us to make it work for our well-being, not to make us feel less. So yes, like, share, subscribe, and more content coming your way. Thank you so much. Love and light. Have a blessed week. Bye.